Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel. Tacitus Day, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to sort of come back to the Barbie movie and some of the scenes in it that suggest that the real world that Barbie comes into from the toy world, the real world she comes, or supposed real world, is this incredible dystopia that oppresses women, objectifies women, and so on. Now, one of the examples, if I've got it right, is down on the Venice beachfront in Los Angeles, and having been to the US a million times and having been along beachfront promenades on the east and the west coast from shining sea to shining sea, then I've got a bit of an understanding about the culture of beachfront, particularly on the warmer summer days. Now, I remember the very first time that I went to the beach scene in Australia is usually nowhere near any. There are a few maybe, but generally the beach scene isn't anywhere near the nightclubs and the sort of the nightlife scene that you tend to get in the US. So. And Venice Beach in Los Angeles was certainly an eye-opener. I'd never seen anything quite like that before. Well, certainly not on that scale. But I think it was the first time I ever went to LA, and the company had a policy then, because I was only a junior, I was only a young guy, I was like 23 or 24 or something. The company had a policy that you had to hand the hire car, the renter car, back in to on the weekend to save money. I mean, when you got more senior in sort of the company, you could keep the car, but for me, but anyway, the renter car company, hire car company, which was not one of the majors, they had this thing where if you rented it for 5 days, then you could keep it for the weekend free of charge, provided you didn't clock up too many miles. So I ended up keeping the car. So holy crap! What will I do? And I am out about what I do, and so I thought I'd go down to Venice Beach. And now this was in the 80s when I very first went there, and probably, I don't know, Ronald Reagan was still president, so I may have even been 22, I think. But anyway, I was a young guy when I was there, and I'd seen the movies about Venice Beach. And I'd seen I think it was a TV show called, I think it was called Baywatch or something like that, where, at least according to the according to the TV program, there was nothing but hot chicks wall to wall. So I can tell you, I went there with some sense of anticipation, and as you can imagine, in the real world, it was quite disappointing compared to what the TV or the movies may depict. So I get there, and now bear in mind, in the 80s, this is before the globalists sort of the gender conflict thing was the first thing they kicked off with, the globalists, and so that was kind of around, but it was nowhere near the scale it is today. And and there were hordes of, many of them not very hot looking, by the way, but there were hordes of chicks there in their bathing costumes and beach shorts that they must have really struggled to get into, and there was a lot of them should not have been showing that much flesh, but I don't remember seeing. There were a lot of girls going around doing roller skating around there. There was that sort of thing. But were there oodles of sort of hot chicks? Was anybody ogling as grossly as they were in the Barbie movie or something? No, I didn't see anything like that. Nothing like it at all. And if that was, if it was going to happen, that would have been the place where it would have happened. There weren't as many chicks as hot as Margot Robbie, though. So that, I'm sure the super hot chicks would get ogled at more than the others, but nonetheless. So I didn't see that at all. There was no ass grabbing that I could see. There didn't appear to be any groups of people who they were into ass grabbing. There was a bit of repartee between the black guys and the black chicks. They were sort of I thought rather uncouth but they each gave as good as they got. This is no shrinking violet little girlies by wicked, being put upon by wicked oppressor men. Far from it. The expletives flew back and forth both ways and were delivered with great gusto. So as for the white guys doing it, then I didn't see even the slightest sign of it. And there were some people that were, they must have been smoking a lot of shit, because they really looked out of their face along Venice Beach. You didn't see it so much in other places. And I've done the same, going around the beach areas of New York and, near Coney Island and San Diego and so on, all around the place. And I never saw that behavior. So that the behavior is depicted in the Barbie movie on the that beach promenade there. That's something I have never seen, whether in Australia or the US. Now I did. So I was in Waikiki once, and it was the strip. I think it was a street back from the beach, but where all the nightclubs are and the nightlife generally is. And there was guys going around in convertible Mustangs, and they were calling out to girls that were walking along the street, and like, hey babe, coming my way, and those types of comments. But again, the girls gave us good. It was obviously a well-worn sort of exchange there, and the girls expected it. The boys were doing it, and again the expletives flew back and forth, and neither side could claim victimhood in those exchanges. Certainly not that I could see anyway. But other than that, I don't recall, and that was only because the nightlife was right next to the beach. So I think the two sort of went. People were, it was really hot, and people were still walking around in beach clothes. Really, girls were going to the nightclubs and restaurants still dressed in their beach clothes. And men too. So anyway, that thing in Barbie. But I do remember listening to feminist diatribes where no woman's safe to go anywhere. Men catcall and men harass them. Evil fucking men, those fucking Nazis, little tiny shrinking violet women put upon by evil men. And this is very much, and you hear the softball interviews and the radical feminists, who nearly all seem to be lesbians, by the way. I don't know why they. And what had happened was the woman had worn, who shouldn't be wearing shorts, by the way. This woman had put on these micro shorts and decided to walk up and down a road where there was a homeless men's shelter, and then counted the amount of times that she was catcalled by these homeless men, many who were in a terrible state. And but she had to walk up and down a number of times before, so as provocative and as confrontational as possible, before any men called out to her. And they said, that's it, proof, you misogynist fucking Nazis. So this is a matter of radical feminist folklore, that women can't go anywhere without being oppressed by those fucking Nazis. So it exists only in their imagination, only in the folklore, as indeed do the other mentions of the Barbie thing, the so-called oppressions women have to face and suffer. Now, can you sort of find the single example of in the United States with a population of 300 plus million, where somebody got catcalled or somebody had their ass grabbed somewhere? I mean, I'm sure you could. But if it doesn't happen along Venice Beach, ass grabbing and the like, where people are walking around, in bathing costumes, and many of them there to be seen, by the way. They're not there just to sort of take in the sea air. They are there to be seen and noticed. So this world, a world of oppression and patriarchy and so on that's supposed to exist, it doesn't exist. It just doesn't fucking exist. They have to invent it, and they have to take it out of the gender studies, lesbian ideology, and the Marxist ideology of the evil oppressions that that women supposedly suffer in promoting gender conflict. So it's nothing to do with any form of it's an imaginary world. So they create this imaginary world. Now, I noticed this sort of first off when the gender conflict thing kicked off, how they were talking about how women are being beaten to death by their husbands every day, and how women are cruelly oppressed in the workplace, and every imaginable form of oppression, that women are just victims, and it's all committed by these evil Nazi misogynist men. But in fact, anything, rapes on campus or college campus and so on, everything that I looked into and everything I examined, it either didn't happen at all, or it was exaggerated by between 20 and 40 times. So if they had 3 or 4 rapes or something on the campus in the whole year out of 50,000 students, and these typically were unproven rapes, by the way, then they would just multiply it by 40 and say there were 100 rapes. So they were very dishonest and used this imaginary world where all women are victims getting raped and so on. And it ends up in things like the Duke University case where this sports team, when I think it was the end of year sort of party bash, they got in a stripper, and the stripper that they wanted to get, and the only stripper that the strip agency had on the books was a black stripper. And I don't know whether this was explained or not to the sports team, but she turns up, she's barely able to stand up, she's so drunk and drugged and off her face, and she can't complete the routine or even start the routine from the sound of it. So there's quite harsh language exchange. She has a good old go at them, and they make comments back. So it was probably harsh language was going both ways there. She walks out and decides that she's going to say she was beaten up and raped. Now, there was video footage to prove that was not the case, that she was telling lies. But the district attorney was so desperate to convict some white guys on a crime that had not been committed, that he decided to conceal the evidence on the videotapes and some other material evidence. And, for example, there was no DNA evidence from the accused that would suggest they'd been anywhere near this woman. So, and this it was only because these students were wealthy or came from wealthy families that top-notch private investigators were hired, and they did, from the looks of it, quite a thorough job. And it was shown how the district attorney had fabricated evidence, committed a conspiracy to conceal evidence, conspiracy with the police and other government operatives. And this was only discovered because the wealthy families fought back, and the guy got fired, and I think he spent 1 day in prison, and that was it. So this extensive conspiracy. But the point is that with all these lies and this fantasy world, there are people that act on it. People say, okay, everyone thinks that we're in a situation where all women are getting raped all the time, college campus rapes, This has got everything I need, the district attorney, who's a white guy, by the way. This has got everything I need, says the district attorney. So I'll just fucking fabricate it. I'll just conceal evidence. I want to get these innocent young white men, and I want to fucking throw them in prison. So that's what I want. And if that means I have to conceal some evidence, if that means I have to fabricate evidence, if that means I have to commit conspiracy to pervert the cause of justice, then who gives a flying fuck? I'm doing ideological good, so I can do anything I want to get these fucking Nazis. And this is really the mentality that in my view, the Barbie movie is underwriting, and it does us all a disservice. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.